So thanks so much for organizing again, Rebecca, and to all of you for being here in the audience. I know it's raining really hard outside. So really excited to have our panel of founders with us, especially right after our previous session where you heard a lot more about blockchain innovation as well as some of the things from an investor's perspective. So we actually have a really great panel of founders who are doing completely different things from each other, which will be great to give you a sense of some of the innovation that's happening in this space right now. So maybe I'll start with a brief personal intro, and then all of you can give a brief intro of your personal background as well as your company. So as Rebecca mentioned, I'm from Agile VC and IOVC, and we mainly focus on early stage enterprise. I personally started following blockchain from about end of 2010, beginning of 2011, when my business partner first introduced this to me, and everything looked very much like a scam from the early stages. And from then till now, there's been lots of changes throughout. So really excited to hear from some of you and to see what you're working on.
Hi. Hi, my name is Kingsley Edwards, and I've been in the Bitcoin space or blockchain space since 2013. I was actually at Boost VC in Tribe 5 in 2015. I started a company called Beats, and we work basically, we created a skill-based online platform where people can play against each other for Bitcoin and popular video games like Counter-Strike, League of Legends, Minecraft, just to name a few. Recently, last year, we actually got acquired by Unikrn, which was started by Raul Sood. He previously sold his company PC to HP, started Microsoft Ventures. And with Unikrn, it was kind of perfect timing because we brought over our whole team that has been in the blockchain space for a while. So we did our token sale last year, September to October, and we sold over $33 million worth of our token. It's focused on the gambling, esports space and integrating video games into this whole ecosystem. And yeah, now we just, I don't know, I guess, yeah, we'll pass it on.
So I'm Jason Wong, and I do special projects for Quantstamp. I want to apologize because Richard was not able to make it. He's over in Japan, and Steven has influenza. So he actually does. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So what Quantstamp does is they are in the business of building a system that will automate the security of smart contracts. So if you know anything about the smart contract market, about half a year ago there were actually 2 million of them. 2 months ago there were about 2 million, and sometime this year there are going to be 10 million smart contracts managing billions of dollars of money. And so what you have is a problem where, in order to audit and make sure these smart contracts are secure, it is a manual process which can only be addressed one at a time. If you can add a layer of automation to it, then you can actually address maybe 50% of the problem and decrease the number of auditors needed by half. So it is an exponential approach using an engineering problem in formal verification. What else would you like to know?
We'll dig in later, but please stay healthy.
Hi, my name is Jim Mai. I'm the founder of EverMarkets, and we're building a decentralized futures trading platform on the Ethereum blockchain. And what we want to do is bridge the cryptocurrency world with global capital markets. And we're a team from Carnegie Mellon. Myself and my co-founders all ended up in finance. So I was a trader at Citigroup. I was a portfolio manager at Grant Capital. Other co-founders worked at AQR Capital, Citadel, and Knight. And we're looking to bring our institutional finance experience to the cryptocurrency world, a cryptocurrency space, to bring institution-level liquidity and security and infrastructure to the space. So what we want to do is add a legitimate use case for cryptocurrency and allow people to tap into all this wealth that's been created in the cryptocurrency world and allow them to access global capital markets.
Hi everyone, my name is Xiaohong. I'm the founder of Bodhi. So I started to learn Bitcoin since 2011. And then I started to learn Ethereum in 2014 and participate in the crowd sale. And yeah, starting from May last year, I found the current project called Bodhi. And what Bodhi is, we are a decentralized prediction market built on Quantstamp, and we are building these prediction markets for China. We found this project, we have been suffer through a lot of things, like Chinese ICO ban, and later on we did another cross sale to exchange someone called IEO. And what Bodhi is, prediction markets, in short ways, it's a exchange so that people can predict the future events results and exchange the results with each other. And what we are doing right now is we basically build this 100% decentralized on blockchain, and that's what we are.
Awesome. So I think what we're going to do is probably spend 5 minutes digging into each of your projects so the audience has a better chance to understand. And then we'll open it up into a discussion model. We can all kind of chat. So I thought maybe we'll go backwards and then we'll kind of rotate. So maybe we'll start with Xiaohong first. So Xiaohong, I know you from Xiaohong, our engineering community, and so I know a lot more about what you've worked on. But maybe as a first step, you can tell the audience a little bit more about why you got started on this project specifically, and where you see the potential.
So for the past 7 years, I've been really focused on doing research in blockchain. Believe it or not, I truly believe blockchain gonna be the next big thing since even 6 or 7 years ago. It sounds very crazy, but at that moment, I do feel like a platform without server seems like the next challenge in technology side. So that's why I'm really sticky and addicted in this area. And I've been spending a lot of time to see what's the real use case, or someone keeps looking for what's the killer app on Bitcoin, or what's the killer app on blockchain. Me too, I tried to find the answer of it for the past couple of years, and I couldn't. Blockchain has couple issues. For example, three major issues for me are first, because of the block time, so it's not able to build a real-time responsive application, and it cannot hold big data because of the block size limit, and you cannot do large-scale computing, scaling computing based on blockchain. So it's very impractical. So that's why for the past 6 years I've been almost looking in this area and participate, invest in a lot of ICOs. And starting from early last year, and this area is becoming very, very popular, and people from industry or regular people, they started to pay attention on this. And I realized probably this is the best time to start my own project. Why? Because for one, you got audience. People start to recognize Bitcoin and blockchain as something could be the next trend. Second, entrepreneurs as well. Internet for the past decades has been flourished and creates so many cool stuff. But then we are reaching to some point, right now, we run out of new ideas, and we are reaching to some limits which we need to break through. And I believe blockchain is gonna be the next trend. So that's why I start to think about what should I build and contribute to this area, because I've been so experienced in this area. And I think prediction markets, it's something for now can tolerate those issues we have on blockchain, and still we are able to build very user-friendly products 100% based on that. And that's why I found Bodhi. And you may have heard of some existing decentralized prediction market built on Ethereum. What's unique for us is our prediction market is really 100% decentralized, and our Oracle mechanism will make sure it's working. And right now we have been launched our alpha version, which has been tested on testnet, and we are supposed to launch our mainnet products within less than 2 months, which is gonna be end of next month. Thanks.
So perhaps you can tell everyone a little bit more about how your prediction markets work and how the mechanism works. For example, what you can predict, and how, if we were interested in participating in the alpha, what we can do.
Yeah, so I want to give a very small example because I want to give other people time. So in short, imagine we're gonna have when you run our server local, like on local, you don't have a server on the remote. Now you can create a event like say who's gonna be the winner for the upcoming like World Cup, and then people we're gonna like create a couple results, right? Now people can start to predict which basically is bad. Use deposits like quantum token or other token on the results that you believe gonna happen, right? And so by doing this, your token gonna hold in the smart contract. It's locked up by the smart contract. Now, when the thing happens, okay, some team win in the World Cup. Now, who's gonna set the results? It's 100% decentralized. Remember, no one controls the system, and that's why Oracle comes into play. People create something called so-called decentralized Oracle, so that people can vote on that, or we have third-party Oracle to set the results. But none of them is trustable. It's really possible to be hacked. That's why we are trying to build a like on-chain judgment or on-chain court, so that people who hold our token, Bodhi token, can act like one of the player or one of the member of the court to vote multiple rounds until there's no, like no one disputes the results. So what we call it's a consensus called proof of agreement. So how it works is for every round, you are only able to vote against on the previous rounds by deposit Bodhi token, which means stake your Bodhi token in the smart contract. You deposit this and stake that and vote against for the previous results. If your result is aligned with the final results, you win and you earn the rewards. If your votes results is different from the final results, then your token is gone. So it's kind of like like a gambling system, like where people have to decide whether you're going to be honest or dishonest. Yeah.
Awesome. So for those of you interested in prediction markets, you can follow and keep an eye out for Bodhi. And Jim, on EverMarkets. So prior to Venture, I actually spent time at Goldman Sachs, and we then became the first investment bank to establish our crypto trading desk. So this is a really good time to be working on a project like this. So maybe you could tell everyone a little bit more about why you decided to do this as well.
So, so I was in New York for 10 years, and I moved out here beginning of last year, and I got into the decentralization movement, and got into the smart contract development, and I realized that Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're cryptocurrencies, and at the end of the day, they're just another currency. And what people do, if you convert your dollars to euros, most people don't just put it in a bank account and let it sit there. They put those euros to work. They buy assets using those euros, European assets. And currently in this environment, in this ecosystem, there's no way to put crypto to work other than owning crypto. So my co-founders and I got the idea of giving the community, the crypto holders, the ability to use their crypto to buy other assets, real-world assets. So that includes stocks, bonds, commodities. So that's why we are building this platform. So
a lot of people are also working on tokenizing real-world assets. And right now, it's interesting that you're tackling this from a slightly different perspective. So what's your perspective on where this market will go as you have folks who are working on digitalized assets, whether it's tokenizing real estate or any sort of larger assets, to how you're tackling this, which is allowing people to put crypto to work?
Right, so we're tackling from a derivatives point of view. We're creating futures contracts. We allow people to trade futures contracts using cryptocurrency as collateral. And we just think this is a cleaner solution. At the end of the day, a trade is a trader thinks one asset is going to go up, and another trader thinks the same asset is going to go down. And you can represent that very cleanly with a smart contract. You just keep track of the position and the size and what price they entered and exited the trades in. So it's a very natural use case of blockchain technology, which is, in a sense, just a database.
So to give everyone a little bit more context, would your platform mainly be facing larger institutions, or would it also facing retail and day traders as well?
Yeah, so we're building this platform for everyone. We're building this initially for the crypto community, but we want to extend this out to the institutional investors out there. And what we feel is that we're building this platform for as a dark pool for futures. So currently in the future space, there's only one exchange, one clearinghouse that'll handle the trading of futures, and one exchange in each region. Whereas in equity space, there's multiple exchanges and multiple off-exchange venues for institutions to access liquidity. And so EverMarkets is the first off-exchange futures platform for institutions to access that liquidity.
And so some people will say that even just in terms of not even on a derivative level, just in terms of a crypto trading level, there are platforms that have major issues in terms of just user-friendliness. So it's very difficult to trade right now. So maybe you can tell everyone a little bit about what distinguishes your platform in terms of how you're thinking about product and your focus areas.
So yeah, unlike the traditional central limit order book, we're going to simplify the process by creating a pro rata periodic call auction, which means periodically we'll pool the buyers and sellers and have them cross at one price. This should simplify the trading aspect. This will lower the volatility, and it'll make the trading done in a more transparent and fair way. So there's no advantage for speed. Everyone's competing on price. So yeah.
Perfect. So for those of you looking to get more into futures trading, keep an eye out for EverMarkets. So on to Quantstamp. Maybe tell everyone a little bit more about what you do and how you got involved.
Okay, so when I say I do special projects, that means I basically have participated at everything from the level of the token generation event, which we started on October 1st and ended on November 19th, and flying around different parts of the world to speak at events like this. So I guess when you asked me, well, you didn't ask me, but I'll answer anyways, why I decided to join onto the Quantstamp project. There are basically two fundamental problems which prevent widespread adoption in cryptocurrency today. One is scalability, making sure your transactions go through and you can buy your CryptoKitty. And two, security, the trust that when you purchase your CryptoKitty that money is not moved or destroyed in the wallet like in the parity hack. And so what Quantstamp is trying to do is use this technique called formal verification, which has existed for about 15, 20 years, and has been used for rocket engineering, cars, and automotive engineering, planes, etc., and applying it to the field of smart contracts. And so if you can actually cover the 80% of problems that occur from 20% of bugs, then you will make people feel a hell of a lot better, since there's basically errors in 40% of wow, that's a lot of numbers. Smart contracts today.
So what exactly is your business model?
The business model is is generally from being able to do audits. So today it will be a hybrid model where we have semi-automated smart contract auditing with some level of automated testing, and eventually we'll build out a series of nodes which can decentralize the work and break it up, because as you have larger and larger amounts of test coverage, the compute power required increases.
It sounds like you would then be mainly facing businesses or startups that are building their own protocol or building on top of existing platforms.
What we'd like to do for the initial iteration is to make sure that smart contract auditing is actually accessible to everyone. The Parity Project hack was a matter of a Git pull and 7 lines of code changed, and $300 million was frozen. We'd like to make sure that it's not $20,000 to audit your smart contract, and a far, far lower amount than that.
So for anyone essentially writing a smart contract, you would be opening.
Right, exactly, and then there will be, enterprise opportunities after you open the general market.
Gotcha. So it's not currently an open source project, that always sounds like.
It is in development. We are actually one of the first ICOs that has gone through my that is in the process of going through my combinator and be available on demo day.
Makes sense. And in terms of next steps, because we've talked a little bit about just having development tools in place, as you're now building your platform, are you coming across any particular challenges?
Wow. That would be an engineering question.
Or if your role is to go around to events and speak about it, you can talk about challenges that you've come across in terms of just adoption or any sort of major questions that you get.
Why don't we come back to me?
Okay, we will come back to you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so
If you don't mind, I can give one of the challenges we have. So when we deploy our Bodhi token on blockchain, and now we start to build this prediction market, right? And Bodhi token is kind of like internal currency in this whole smart contract system. And then we realized that we used ERC20 standard before, so it works in terms of it's basically a standard. So there's no problem when you transfer from one A or B. But when you use that inside the smart contract, then we have a problem about this. You have to do like approve first and then transfer. So basically, you have to make two function call internally to make one transaction, which for one cost transaction fee. Second, it's really tedious to do that, and we cannot solve the problem right now because it's already deployed on blockchain. So how are we going to do it next? We have a couple of solutions, but none of them are perfect. Some of them maybe require we to talk to the exchange, basically ask them to help, to cooperate, to replace the old smart contract with the new one, and doing some internal service to, basically it help user to replace from one token to the other one. Second, it's on-chain, but which requires all token holders to cooperate together, which is not like a realistic. So yeah, it's very painful if you have some problem, but there's always some solution. Yeah.
Right, we can come back and discuss that more on a panel-wide basis too. But Kingsley, onto you. You're kind of in a special case because your startup was acquired by Unikrn. So how was that experience like for you, and how is the team functioning so far?
It's been great because we were still focused on the same things that we were before, which is esports, video games, and crypto. So right before actually getting acquired, during kind of the lull years of crypto, before this whole big ramp up recently, we actually we opened up the first esports lounge in a casino in Las Vegas, and more recently with Unikrn, we just announced a partnership with MGM. So there's been, we're basically on the same path, which is great. So it's, like I said, our whole team over, this whole token sale experience has been a real big eye-opening experience for me too, because I was a big part of that.
So there's a lot of startups in crypto and blockchain space overall, and a lot of them are doing similar things. And so people have been talking about M&A opportunities, especially given your circumstances. Maybe you can shed your insights on your view of the market. Should more startups look at potentially working together, whether it's in terms of a formal merger or acquisition, or do you think it's better when you have more startups that are in similar spaces and just competing with each other?
Yeah, competition is always good, and we always have our eyes open, especially me, just with the ecosystem and the industries that we're focused on. But I do think, especially with our founder, he has a Microsoft background in getting acquired by HP, so there is a lot of that M&A talk, and we are looking at other companies in the space that are doing interesting things that potentially we can either partner or work with this business in some way.
And so you mentioned that you've opened up a couple of lounges in Vegas, especially with the upcoming partnership with MGM. So as a next step, is focusing on your core aspects still going to continue to be the focus, or now that you've just raised a successful ICO, you're also looking to branch into other kind of related business units?
Yeah, we're focused, like I said, on gambling, esports, video games, and crypto. That's our main focus right now, but we do have a plan and a roadmap to branch out into other similar things, and from there we'll go on to more similar things.
So what would be the most important products or services for you over the next year?
So we have some of our land-based casino operations. We'll be seeing some integration with our crypto there. We also have the licensing
How would that integration work? Just so everybody understands.
Well, we'll start very simple with just entry fees and prize pools, but we're looking at other solutions for loyalty, and then we also have online components as well, and a chance in skill-based space.
So I know we're running short on time, so maybe we'll have one last question for panel discussion, and then we'll let the audience come find you afterwards if they have questions. So we were in the middle of a really interesting discussion earlier about just challenges that you're all coming across as you're looking to build. In the previous panel, Tom was talking about middleware being a major issue as well, just because we have a lot of missing infrastructure. So I think that would be a really interesting topic for founders to talk about, because I think investors might think about investment opportunities, but for you, you're really building this day to day. So I know Xiaohong talked a little bit about challenges, but what about the rest of you? Any major challenges that you're coming across where you feel like either you have to build it yourself in-house, or where you maybe see new opportunities?
Well, just finding good talent while they're in the space.
How have you been hiring so far?
Fortunately, I know our developers from school and from work, so just from personal networks.
It sounds like they don't necessarily have a blockchain or crypto background, though.
That's true, but not many people do. So we're just finding good developers who can learn quickly, and I think after a few months, they're probably in the top few thousand blockchain developers in the world. So that's how we're looking to add to the team.
So since you mentioned this, how do you tell if they are a top 2,000 developer in the space?
Well, we have a bias because we've worked and known them for the last 10, 15 years. So that's, fortunately, we're small enough where we can still pick from our personal network.
Okay, one minute left.
So in regards to hiring, I think there's a huge shift that once you come off the ICO, you actually have to focus on building the actual product out. And so bringing people on board has been reaching into our personal networks, and we usually start with a contract level so we can have our experiment for 30 days or 60 days and see if they will work with the team and if they can keep up with our cadence. So I think that's how we should approach that project.
Especially during the token sale and then actually post-token sale as well. I think there's still a huge need, and you can see this with the news with Coinbase and the other exchanges, for experienced customer service people that know crypto. So that's something that needs to be built out.
Well, from the early days when startup founders used to hire just hackers that they've never met online, till now, at least now you can tap into personal networks. I think it's definitely grown a lot. So if anyone's in the audience is interested in learning more, be sure to grab our founders afterwards. Thanks so much.
Okay.